Welcome to the Master Cars Pro channel. Today we talk about the problems and weaknesses of this wonderful car. We are starting with the power units as usual. Initially, the choice of Audi Q3 buyers was offered for turbocharged 2-liter engines, two gasoline TFSI EA888 family and two TDI EA288 diesel engines. After the first restyling, the line of gasoline engines was not only modernized but also replenished with the 1.4-liter TSI EA211 engine. Let's start with the most reliable engine of this model 1.4. Engines of the CZEA series are equipped with the ACT system, which disables two central cylinders in certain engine operating modes, thereby increasing their efficiency. The main disadvantage of this engine is the increased oil consumption. This problem appears after 50,000 km. Another common ailment is jamming of the thrust of the turbine bypass valve actuator wastegate. Often, the actuator thrust gets stuck in the lever coming from the electric motor, and rather powerful electric drive breaks it or the lever. Symptoms are decreased thrust accompanied by the P334B00 code. It is worth noting that the problem can manifest itself at different runs. Someone encounters it at the beginning of operation, while someone drives more than 100,000 km and does not know any troubles. Of the less significant troubles, one can single out the prolonged heating of some modifications in the cold season, the presence of noise and rattling during acceleration. When replacing spark plugs with an experienced technician, the ignition coils may be break. Often the cause of the motor malfunctioning is an electrician. Sometimes the thermostat pump also fails, in which the plastic case jars, after which it leaks. With proper and timely maintenance and care, the engine resource will be 150–300,000 km. As for the two-liner units, they are presented here in two generations. Until 2015, they installed the second generation of the motor, after the third. Of the differences between these units, it can be noted that the latter has new connecting rods, modified pistons, lightweight balancing shafts, and new cylinder head with variable valve timing system on the intake and exhaust camshafts, an AST system, and a two-stage ABS valve lift control system. The design of the oil pump, timing belt, fuel injection and cooling system were also improved. The problem areas of the second generation include oil burner, timing belt stretching after 100,000 km, unreliability of balancing shafts, unstable speed and TC. As for the reliability of the third generation of the unit, here in terms of resource there are certain difficulties caused by the lightening of the piston group at the crankshaft, but in general these motors have become better and more reliable than EA888/2. The main troubles of this engine include the short service life of the timing chain. After 100,000 km of run, the adjustable oil pump begins to bother. When replacing, it is better to give preference to a pump from the second generation of the motor. Also, a decrease in oil pressure can be caused by excessive wear of the camshafts, where support bridge and liners. The solenoid valve of phase regulators are also not reliable. If they are faulty, a check engine error appears with fixing error codes P0011 and P0014 and P0017. Closer to 200,000 km, the check valve of the oil separator of the crankcase ventilation system begins to collapse. We can also note the presence of the maslajor, however. It is not as critical here as in the previous version of the engine. We are not famous for the reliability of the cooling system, pump and smart thermostat. Once every 100,000 km, the turbine actuator needs to be adjusted. The manual transmission is reliable and rarely bothers with breakdowns. The problem areas here include the weak differential and the short service life of the dual-mass flywheel, up to 200,000 km. Also, do not forget about the need to periodically replace the clutch kit. The average resource is 140–160,000 km. Not bad, on this model, robotic gearboxes have proven themselves. The reliability of DQ250 6-speed robots depends a lot on the year of the manufacturer, operating conditions and quality of service. So, for example, for cars of the first years of production, this checkpoint could present many unpleasant surprises, even at low mileage. Later, it was modernized, which increased its service life. With untimely maintenance and tough operations, the work products of the clutches quickly clogged the hydraulic circuit with dirt. As a result, the box starts to work incorrectly. The main disadvantage here is the heat exchanger, which eventually ceases to fulfill its function. The clutch and mechatronics can be attributed to the weak points of the RCP, the layer of its breakdowns, and not often, but the cost of its repair is comparable to the purchase of a contract box. At moderate loads on the mileage of 150 to 100,000 km, it is necessary to replace the clutches and the dual mass flywheel. At high loads, the restores will be an order of magnitude less. Moreover, there is a risk of getting into an expensive repair of the differential, bearings and couplings. The 7-speed DQ500 robot has a dual wet clutch and is essentially an improved version of the DQ250 transmission. Despite the fact that this box is much more reliable than its predecessor and breaks down much less often, it is demanding on the quality of the service. In the absence of proper care, problems arise caused by contamination of the mechatronic solenoids with clutch wear products. You also need to carefully monitor the cleanliness of the heat exchanger, since the transmission painfully tolerates overheating. Some owners have encountered such a nuisance as oil blowing out through the breather. As with other transmission of this type, the DQ500 may have a howling bearing of grabbing differential. The Audi TFSI SC is the most interesting option among automatic transmission, but there are very few cars with such a transmission in the aftermarket. Of the obvious shortcomings of the machine, one can only note an unsuccessful cooling system, which is why in a metropolis the box is rented closer to 200,000 km. The rest of the troubles are typical for any modern automatic transmission with untimely maintenance. The solenoids are clogged with wear products from the friction lining of the torque converter. As a result, the wear of number of clutch packs accelerates. Also, the sun gear bushings can be attributed to weak points. The all-wheel drive Audi Q3 is implemented using the Haldex clutch, which differs depending on the year of manufacturer of the car. Before restyling, the 4th generation of the clutch was installed, after the 5th. Both versions of the all-wheel drive transmission are quite reliable and have a good off-road qualities. Of the disadvantages of the 4th Haldex, it is worth noting its sensitivity to the quality of service. With a rare change of lubricant, the propeller shaft is quickly surrendered. The downside of the 5th generation Haldex is the absence of hydraulic accumulator, which is why after 40–60,000 km the smooth operation and speed of the clutch decreases. It is also worth noting the poor quality of the filter, due to which the performance of the oil pump decreases by 60–80,000 km. To extend the life of the pump, you need to change the oil in the coupling and flush the filter mesh on the pump at least once 30,000 km. Despite the premium status, the Audi Q3 is endowed with the usual independent suspension, mounted on subframes in front of the McPherson strut. In the back there is a multi-link. As for the reliability of the chassis, not everything is clear. So, for example, on cars of which large rims and RS versions are used, the support and wheel bearings are very quickly rented out. For a mileage 100,000 km, the rear silent blocks may crack. When replacing, it is recommended to change the lever assembly. The rest of the suspension elements under moderate loads nurture 150 to 100,000 km. On the rear axle, an unpleasant surprise can be presented by the break-up bolts. We will serve over time. In order not to go to extremes, it is recommended to carry out their prevention at least once a year. The steering is equipped with a rack and pinion mechanism with an electric booster. The mechanical part of the unit is quite reliable and capable of holding more than 200,000 km. But an electrician can cause a lot of trouble. Wiring breaks, connectors oxidize. In the design of the rack, there is an additional 2-foot rack with its own clamping mechanism, which, after 150,000 km, begin to bother with extraneous sounds. To eliminate the trouble, you need to contact a specialized service to replace the lubricant in it. After 5–6 years of operation, it is often necessary to replace an expensive steering wheel torque sensor. The loop breaks off. There are no significant complaints about the car braking system. Of the weak points here, only the capriciousness of the ABS unit and the unreliability of the parking brake drives can be noted. On pre-styling copies, attention should be paid to the condition of the tube coating in the rear of the body. The paintwork, traditionally for the modern cars, is not of the best quality. The enamel has a thin layer and does not resist mechanical damage poorly. However, due to the small age of most of the copies presented on the secondary market, there should be no significant problems with the paintwork, especially for a car with double factory painting. For cars over 6 years old, one of the little things can be noted: the presence of minor damage to the paint in the contact points of bumpers and body panels. Ergonomics, quality of finishing materials and equipment of the Audi Q3 are at a fairly high level. Of the minuses, it is worth highlighting the lack of space both in front and behind. The situation is aggravated by a too-high steering position and a low roof. Despite the good build quality, the steering column lining and other decorative elements begin to creak closer to 100,000 kilometers. Well, if you are the owner of this car, then please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your feedback what will help viewers when choosing a car. I'm done. Thank you all very much for your attention. I'm very grateful to you if you subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. See you soon!